Just don't worry about it.
Isaiah, I wanted to ask you what are the conspiracies? I'm sure you've done so many. I'm sure there's multiple that you went into in your research, being like, "This is the silliest thing. It's going to be funny," and then as you're going, you're like, "No, it can't be real. This can't be a real." Like, were there any like that like by the end you're like, I bamboozled myself here?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say the biggest one that I really entered with like the whole I'm going to make fun of this thing on the internet, and now I'm legitimately scared of it, is the concept of fractalization, specifically, which I think fractalization. So Kyle has more experience with this kind of thing than I do, but specifically with that look,
Kyle's face,
specifically with hallucinogenics and things like LSD and all of that. People will begin to see these patterns, and they will have.
I know about fractals.
They'll see these entities, fractals and stuff like that. The craziest thing to me is every single story I've ever heard from someone who has any experience with tripping or whatever. They always encounter the same creatures. They see the same shapes. They have the same experiences. And the wildest story to me, the one that like made me like shut the computer and be like, all right, I'll come back to this at a later day. There were these 4 guys out west who they all got DMT, and they were high for like 2 days. Like they hooked themselves up on an IV to stay hydrated.
Oh, no.
They went, they went in. All 4 of them came out and said that they had met each other, that they had talked to each other in this fractal plane or whatever. And then while telling the story to other people, were able to accurately relay who each other was, what they did, and they all had like a shared experience in this plane of existence or whatever. And I was like, no, that can't be real. And then I keep finding more and more, and it's driven me up a wall.
So that's interesting to me. Like I've only done like mushrooms and acid, but DMT seems really interesting, depending on how you do it. You know, there's the 2 kinds. I don't get super technical with it. Like everybody always wants to pull out a damn fake chemistry degree and like dimethyl ethyl kikatine. I'm like, I want to stop him. I want to stop him right there and be like, explain to me how that molecule is constructed. Could you draw it for me? Like what kind of bonds are those?
Bro, but I got it tattooed on my leg, bro.
Like I remember just enough chemistry to know that you don't know chemistry. So just stop pretending. But anyway,
I'm gonna throw terms out there like ionic bond, covalent bond, potassium.
Potassium.
Boron elements, science, test tubes, beakers, Bunsen burner much?
You guys are way too smart. They clearly know their shit.
I always keep a lit Bunsen burner going when I have company over, so they're like, "Wow, this guy."
They're like, hey,
oh, sorry, you caught me
You caught me in the middle of my study, and I'm melting like 50 Snickers minis into a bigger Snickers. Get out!
There's nothing funny about that.
You throw a sheet over it.
There's actually nothing funny about melting many chocolate bars.
I was about to say, wait a minute.
I told you would never interrupt me during my studies.
Get out of my studies.
Look, we have a guy here that has found great success with melting food into bigger food.
There's totally nothing. It's nothing to laugh at, melting little chocolate bars down into one big chocolate bar.
It's a genuine
science. There's absolutely a lot of cool things about that. I think that's very respectable.
My wife telling me that like no matter how hard I work, no one is going to buy my $10 million bar, which is 100 grams melted. It's a $10 million bar. It's in the shape of Reese's.
Ahead of your time.
I wrote to Frito-Lay. They have not got back to me.
You know, the only example of that actually works is what we've all done in making the mega stuffed Oreo. We can improve upon this. It can be done. The other day, I was with somebody at like Dollar General or something, and she grabbed some Oreos, this little like individual serving of Oreos, it's like 4 of them, and they were like, I don't remember what word they used, but it was like stupid stuffed Oreos. And like when she got them out, I was like, wait a goddamn minute. Let me see that. It's just cream. They just gave you a big tube of cream and like 2 cookies. Like she's like, you want a bite? I'm like, no, it's just a big mouthful of cream.
How much thicker is it than a traditional double stuff? Like double stuff?
Oh, maybe 3 or 4 times. It's like so thick. You gotta like open. You know when you get a big hamburger and you're like, I don't know if I get my mouth this wide. It was like that.
But with an Oreo, fuck's sake.
That's too much. That's not a good
It came
ratio.
in a can like Pringles. It was taller than it was wide. Not really, but it
my
was
God.
huge. It was silly.
Yeah,
Still,
you know, I
fuck.
remember back in the day making like your own mega stuffed Oreo. It was fun. You got like 4 Oreos. You made
Yeah.
a mega one. You
Mhm.
ate it and you were like, wow, so good. But then like when Oreo did it, like triple stuffed, you're kind of like, nah, this is fucked up, bro.
Oh,
Just
that
saying,
doesn't even come
nah,
close.
Yeah.
That doesn't even come
It's
close.
weird when they
Like
it's weird when
regular,
they
double,
did
and
it.
super.
What was
First
that
of-
one on the left? There was no
First of all,
cream.
that one on the left, that is
That's
not
probably
a
the
standard
Oreo.
That
I think
looked
is
like
an Oreo.
licked
Let me see it. Pull it up
Oreo.
again.
That's an Oreo
That-
that somebody ate a little.
That
of
already
and
been
then, like,
licked.
snuck
That's a
back
lick.
in.
Yeah, that's a lick.
Is there something called Oreo Thins? Did I dream that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There are Oreo
Yeah.
things.
That's probably what it is.
There's-
Yeah.
They're not
I
bad.
forgot
There's
about
vanilla
those.
ones too.
Yeah.
What kind of fucking masochist is buying?
That's what I'm
Oh
talking
my
about.
god!
Oh my
Whoa!
God.
What the?
You see what I mean?
Whoa!
Each
is
pack,
diabetes.
each
Bro.
an individual serving is 4 of those.
Bro, you
Oh
get your
my
ass to
God.
fucking. You go to Norway, you'll never get gangster shit like this, bro. Say goodbye to the
Norway.
most stuffed.
Hey,
Stop
hey,
this
hey, hey,
milk.
whoa, whoa. Here,
This
read
is
the,
absurd.
read the bottom left corner of the Oreo pack.
110 calories per cookie.
110 calories
My
per
word.
You know what's
Word.
funny? You know what's funny is
Oh,
that
yeah.
like
I was talking about how the slit appears when it open. I thought that was funny.
Oh.
this I like that it's like the most stuff, but like it has to be with 1 F because legally they can't call it stuff because that cream isn't even a real thing.
Yeah.
So they're like, you can't even use 2 F's. You have to make up your own word.
Stuff means it's real.
It's not. Yeah.
One F is copyrighted.
STUFF,
It means high fructose corn
nothing.
syrup.
Yeah.
You know what I just realized? that cream and cream are 2 different words because
Oh
like cream that you
Whoa.
make from like cow's milk is
Oh
C-R-E-A-M.
no!
I did
Oh
not-
no!
Why
I've
have I
never
never
seen
thought
this
about
word
that?
before.
There's no dairy in that. There's no milk in that probably.
What the fuck is creme?
Well,
That's
like
non-
you know, you guys know
That's how you
muscle
spell
milk.
like skin cream, right?
Yeah,
CREME.
I'm
No?
pretty
Well,
sure like there's
you
like
know
a yeah. there's
you
skin
know that
cream.
product, muscle milk.
This is like restaurant for me. I've never noticed that before.
Well, no, I think
You're not-
Harley might be right. Do they spell cream that way because they can't do the regular
It's
spelling that
the
implies
dairy-
there's
dairy
dairy in it?
farmers. Dairy farmers are really very powerful, and like muscle milk here is muscle MLK. R.I.P. It doesn't have an I in it. It literally doesn't have an I in it.
Yeah, it wrapped around. It,
It says
wrapped
muscle
around.
milk.
I have a dream that we're all gonna get so fucking jacked we can fight for equality.
Muscle milk.
Like,
I
yeah,
have a
look it up.
dream that I can hit my macros in a convenient way at gas stations and convenience
They can't-
stores.
Muscle MLK.
They can't call it. They can't call it milk here, so it literally says muscle milk, but there's
I
no
wanna
I in the
see-
milk.
I want to see a muscle MLK like Photoshop so goddamn bad. I want to see him ripped. I want to see him like on Ronnie Coleman's body. That's what I want. I want MLK on Ronnie Coleman's body.
Make it
Dude,
happen.
I'm sure that.
Yeah,
I'm
muscle
sure it's out there. It
MLK.
has to
I
be.
like that.
Absolutely, it's out there.
That
you're gonna
bullet wouldn't have-
you're gonna get MLK on that black guy's body. You know which one I'm talking about, sitting on the side of the bed. That
Oh.
exists. That exists out there. 100%.
OG
Isn't that-
Mudbone. Yeah,
Isn't that guy dead?
Yes.
I don't know.
is he?
Not
I
with
remember like
Photoshop.
hearing
He's
something
not.
about him. I remember hearing
remem-
something about him how like he needed the money and he had to like pose for those photos to like help
I
someone
read
in his
that too.
life.
Yeah.
Like somebody was like maybe health issues or whatever. Like someone needed money, and so he posed for those photos, and he regrets it.
Regretted it apparently.
Oh, well,
Now
that's
it gets
sad.
Photoshop.
Thanks, Kyle. Now it's complicated.
Yeah.
I
Now
can't
we're
just
human
flash up the
traffickers
fucking
when you
picture.
Deal with that.
meme it with your
Now
friends.
it's
Deal with that.
complicated. He says.
Thanks.
Yeah,
I
no,
just like they're like she's dying. We need you. We need your gigantic cock right now.
We need you,
If there was
Mudbone.
ever a time that the world needs your humongous hanging dick, it's right now.
It's not.
just sit there and look regal because we're gonna put MLK's face on you.
Got to keep it respectable.
He lives on though. He lives on.
You
No,
know, it's
you're
one of the
totally right.
wildest things
Muscle milk
about
is
the
definitely up
MLK.
there.
You know, it's one of the wildest things about the MLK assassination that didn't have to do with the conspiracy.
Mhm.
So Jesse Jackson was with him the day of the assassination. As a matter of fact, King was hanging over a balcony talking to Jackson in the parking lot below whenever he was shot.
Yep.
Immediately, Jesse Jackson ran to the news, and he was wearing a sweater covered in blood and said that he was holding MLK as he was dying. And that's what the blood on the sweater is. Every single person who was there that day said what actually happened is MLK got shot and Jesse Jackson ran off. and the rest of them stayed there with him. And Jesse Jackson went somewhere, put fake blood on himself, and then went to the news so he could get the attention for it.
He like tried to pull his own like
What?
Juicy Smollett thing.
Well,
yeah, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. In research for it, MLK had a lot of problems with Jackson because every time they would go to a rally or protest, he would like aggravate it or like get it as a problem. There was one instance, I think it was some city up north, where King was giving a speech and he was talking about nonviolence, and the police show up, and Jackson's immediately like, "All right, guys, it's time to fight, make a wall," and like made this whole violent protest.
Yeah, like rabble rousing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right, yeah.
And he was like, there's a bunch of accusations he was trying to take the spotlight. And it was specifically King's brother who was furious at him for going to the news in a fake bloody sweater.
I can
Being like,
imagine.
"Oh man, he died in my arms." Yeah.
Trying
Dude,
to
and
take
he
credit.
really
It's like
went
a tremendously narcissistic thing to do. Like
Yeah.
MLK dies, and it's like, but how am I gonna get positive attention?
How do I
He wants to be
profit from
remembered
this
in history.
scenario?
You want to
The
be remembered in
other thing
history
to remember
books.
is what about me?
I would hit him up all the time. I'd be like, "Yo, that was super weird." The next year, I'd be like, "Yo, you remember last year when my brother died and you did that whole thing? Super weird. I never want you to forget how fucking weird that was.
Jesse Jackson.
We all think you're weird. All the people I talk to, all my homies think you're weird."
Yo, that was
I
weird.
just got to know. Where did you get the blood?
And why
Yeah,
does
where would
why did MLK have acrylic-based blood?
You
60s,
came
wasn't
up
it?
with a liter of fake blood in like 8 minutes in Alabama on a Thursday afternoon. I've got to know more.
You just like
I've got to
grab
know.
the bird, pop its head off like a bottle of
I
ketchup.
have children,
Just murdered
goddammit. I can't allow you around them until I know where you got the blood.
Where did you get the blood? You can't come around my
You have
kids.
to know.
Fine, I got
Damn
it
it,
from Sherwin
Jesse.
Williams. Get off my ass.
Oh. Well, let's
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, you can come around kids again.
fine. No, I don't know anything about that conspiracy, about the MLK thing, but I do know that they were surveilling him and recording him and stuff, and they had that like salacious audio of him having sex with his wife, and they were trying to use that against him. He's like, "I don't care." Yeah,
He's like, I'm married, bro.
yeah.
They wrote him a letter to try to get him to kill himself.
Yeah.
Where the FBI posed as like a member, like I think it was a black teen who was like a fan of him, and was like, "Man, you should probably kill yourself before this goes public." It's like,
Wow.
There,
okay.
the
Jesus
first
Christ.
troll comment existed.
Yeah.
On
Yeah, the
paper.
first one in all history. Probably not, but yeah.
The first YouTube
And
You
it
know,
was-
it's wild.
comment.
Whenever I was going through research for it, the like first detail I got to that made me be like, "There's no way," and then sure enough, it was real. The gun, it was a Remington 760 in 30-06. The gun that had Ray's fingerprints on it was never matched ballistically to the bullet that killed King. They tried it over and
The
over.
fuck, man?
And, yeah, and the best that they could determine is that it was the same model, probably because the rifling patterns within the barrel were similar. They're like, "Yeah, we can't exactly determine this is the same rifle that did it, but it's probably close enough."
Are you scared
Close
at night?
enough.
Are you scared at night
Oh,
that you're
you're
on a
muted.
list or something?
No, there he is. No,
You're not worried that you're on a list.
I'm on a list.
Oh, I know. I
wait.
know for a fact I'm on a list.
Kyle's
But I
probably on a
don't.
list.
Like, I know, Cal's on several lists.
They made me sign
I
up
think-
for the list. They were like, "All right, this is for the list," and they like scanned my like face and took my DNA. Like, yeah, I'm on a list.
I think
We're all on
Kyle and
lists.
I share not that
Well,
one, but I
everybody's
think we
on
share
here.
a few lists.
Kyle's on a
What-
list on
what's
the
the,
Baby Gap subscription list.
Oh my
Yes,
god.
I'm
Can't
actually,
can't stop sitting on
There we go.
I'm actually curious.
Just waiting for that winter collection.
Even though
Spring's
it'll
coming.
sound, even though it'll sound funny coming out of my mouth, I actually am genuinely serious. What's the scariest Jewish-related conspiracy theory you've come across? Because you go deep in conspiracy theories, like the Jews are there, like the Jews
Yeah,
come up.
it pops up. If I'm on 4chan,
Like if they're like the
reading about
rifles didn't
conspiracy
match, what's the
theories,
answer?
they
All right,
show
I
up
feel like the
everywhere.
go-to answer for every conspiracy theory is like the Jews.
So,
The rifles didn't match. The Jews.
So this is
Yeah,
really
75 people, one guy. Yeah, the Jew.
So this isn't
It's
really
like a
theory, but
backfill. Sorry,
it's
go
just
ahead,
what happened. So I remember I remember watching on TV like the recording, I guess, of when Marlon Brando said that all of Hollywood was controlled by the Jews. And
Did he say that? Marlon
yeah,
Brando?
he said it publicly. And you know what happened?
What?
Hollywood made him apologize publicly if he wanted to act again.
That is pretty funny.
There were some Jews in Hollywood who said, "You want to work again? You better say that's not true." Wait a minute.
Which is ironic.
First of all, I will say that. And second of all, like, you realize the irony in all this, right? Like,
Yeah.
you get it. Oh yeah, we understand. Now say it. Like
We understand the irony. We really
Yeah,
do
that-
run it, but you got to say sorry.
that happened. It was when he was a little bit older. This is post Godfather.
When was this? Like the 70s? 80,
That'd be a
80s, I
good
guess?
bet. 70s would be a good bet. I don't know, just based on what he looks like in the video.
This
You
is
know, he
fat
got
Brando. This is fat. No
This
pants
is
Brando.
fat. This is fattening Brando for sure.
Fat.
So not all the
He's
way
still got
inflated
pants
yet.
on. He's
Yeah,
still got pants on.
he's still wearing the pants. Do you remember Island of Dr. Moreau?
Yeah.
Brando.
I never
That
seen
is not best Brando. You're like, wow. I remember like Streetcar Named Desire. Like he looks so good. Like he's like, I don't know, maybe 25 there. And then you fast forward to Island of Dr. Moreau when they're holding up posters with his lines on them, and he's staggering around, obese, and
They did that in
weird
Godfather
makeup.
also, by the way.
A lot of fun.
Have you ever
Like
been
a lot.
doing? This is totally different, but have you ever been like researching a conspiracy or something wild for a video, and you're like, after a few hours, days, whatever, you're like, oh, this is getting a little too real and wild. Not this one. Let's find a
Yes,
different one.
yes,
What are
yes,
some
yeah.
examples of that? If you can
Oh,
say?
So the one that really like did me in was I went really down all the Epstein stuff when that happened.
Yes, yeah.
And this was before like I did the YouTube stuff. I was just like, is it really that bad? And then I remember like getting legitimately depressed. I got so into that. I got so into looking where money was going. I got so into who owned these places, who like went where. I just got depressed because I'm like, man, it really is everyone, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that it was like people joke about like, oh, the black pill. I remember being like, wow, everyone is evil everywhere. That is so sad. I remember like having to step away from that
Mhm.
and just kind of take a moment to like reevaluate myself.
Yeah.
But like I've come to peace with it now. Of like, you know, my worth isn't reliant on those who have greater faculty or power above me or whatever. But man, I
Yeah.
tell you what, that was sad. That would be the big one. There's been some other minor ones that I've like sort of like dabbled in that I'm like, I don't know how much more of this I want to find out about. One of them was the Benghazi stuff. I got really into that more recently, like in the past year. And I remember researching that and being like, this is depressing.
Yeah.
Because it's not like I don't come up with the stuff like, aha, everyone who's in charge of us is evil people, whatever, and be like, I figured it out. It's just like, well, dang it.
You're just telling it like it was.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much like, man, whatever.
You're just
I
like,
guess I'll
I
go-
didn't
I'm
know
gonna
there
go
were
walk
this
in the
many
woods.
pedophiles.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that-
I guess I'm gonna go walk in the woods now. So.
That is
Run to
funny,
the
like how the
bathroom, get some
Epstein
water real
thing.
quick. I'll be right
Like
back.
when it first came out, people were like, right. So there's just a bunch of pedophiles in positions of power all over the world. And then you look into it and it's like, wow, there are pedophiles in positions of power all over the world.
No, I heard that was used to control each other. It was like that. It was and I mean, you would probably have heard this at some point or something, but it was used as a means to control each other. Like you are in the circle of trust because we have all committed this heinous, disgusting act, and so it is used as a means of controlling each other and committing to the team because you're all disgusting people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mutual blackmail.
We had a similar.
It's
thing
like
here at
if we go
PKA.
down, you're coming with us. So you better do what we say.
I
That's
remember where I live in Tennessee now, but I'm originally from like Eastern Kentucky, like in the coal country of it. And there's a lot of gangs around, like before my time mainly, but like during my dad's time and all that, the gangs or the Mountain Mafia, as they were called, were real popular whenever they were breaking up picket lines and there were shootouts everywhere. And part of the deal was whenever there were new initiates, they did a lot of stuff like blew up bridges, blew up coal trucks, stuff like that. If they were to ever like shoot something or blow it up, they would find some way for everyone's hand to be on it. Like, if you show up, you are going to shoot the vehicle, or you're going to have some part in place in it, because the first time you have to be like mutual blackmail, and that just scales up. So like for a bunch of guys in the mount, it's shooting up a coal truck. For like, you know, Hillary Clinton, it's eating a baby. It's just a natural.
It's wild. It's the world is like I'm not nearly as into
Weird
it as you,
timeline.
but like it gets depressing when you like look into some stuff where it's like, oh man, people are genuinely very cruel to one another, and that makes me sad.
I remember I used to be like in high school, I was I think I got like most likely to be president, some superlative, and I was on a bunch of debate teams and stuff like that. And I was like really into politics, and then that happened, and I just like, I was like, I'd never want to look at someone in a suit ever again. Like it really did poison me to a point of bitterness for a while. Like I said, I'm better now, but yeah, you asked like what was the one that hit too deep. That one really hit too deep. Yeah,
it makes sense. That's a good answer. I was expecting something like that, like where you just get, it's like you stare too long into the abyss and it begins to stare back into you. You spend all this time obsessing about and reading about something that is horrific, and then you start to be like, man, little bits of my soul are like flaking off as I'm reading this. Like I'm becoming actively more cynical by
also this like, not just with that specifically, but with a lot of like grander conspiracy, like stuff like the MLK assassination or JFK or whatever. There's this sense of hopelessness, or like just inability of action. Like, oh, what am I going to do? Catch these guys? Or no matter how many people I tell, it's not going to get better, right?
Yeah.
And that leads to a sort of, I guess it can lead to nihilism if someone sits in it for too long. But like I said, it's just got to be something that you kind of recognize. It doesn't define you just because it's happening and you can't do anything about it. You're not your inactions. But yeah, I had an entire soul searching thing over the Epstein stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Are you still like following any of the Ghislaine stuff as that was going on?
Yeah. I've got my own theories about all that. I don't. It's kind of like a train wreck, but the train wreck's halfway done. Like, you know, like the front car hit and everything crashed, and it's not like, well, I hope the back of the train will stop doing that. No, it's just going to keep piling up over and over. I kept up with it, but not as much as I did originally, because like I said, you can't, or at least I can't, super invest my time. Like, man, I hope justice is served, because I know the answer, and it's just going to make me sad again.
Yeah, it's not going to be served. And it's funny. Like at first, like so many people are like, "Oh, this isn't happening. They're not. There's no pedophile island." And then now, like some of those same people are like, "We got him. The two people on Earth who were doing this, we got them. Don't worry, guys. This was a one-off. It's never going to happen again. It's certainly not happening with other individuals as we speak right now. We got them, everyone. Mission accomplished." It's like, it's like I don't know. Yeah, it's literally like Bush on that fucking destroyer.
Two people. Yeah.
Well, that thing we said was a conspiracy lie for years was true. Thankfully, the only two individuals globally involved in this have been caught. One of them killing himself when a camera misfired and a bunch of people who didn't work there found their way into his fucking cell.
What if that's the way they said he died? That the camera that was recording him exploded and killed him.
That'd be a little bit more obvious.
He was electrocuted by the camera. Oh, do we have that on film? Well, think about that one. Why are you asking tough questions? All right.
The conspiracy would be a little more obvious.
He was a terrible person at hanging himself and bruising and breaking that many ribs. Like,
I mean, what, he never done it before?
Well, the guy who ended up doing it, at least according to McAfee, before he also CO'd himself.
Okay.
That guy was a kook.
Well, hold on. I got an okay from Kyle. Go ahead. What was that?
Well, I mean, all right, McAfee was
he was on the show.
No.
He's a goop.
I didn't know that he was on the show. That's interesting.
Yeah,
no, I'm not saying that he was murdered. I do think that he did commit suicide.
He
I
did.
wasn't
being
sarcastic. I wasn't being sarcastic on that one. I literally meant he did CO to himself.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the guy that McAfee tweeted and was like, "This is the guy in the jail," which he was right. The dude who was a former cop in New York was the one who was. You remember how Epstein was like almost strangled a week before he died?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that guy did get like moved and separated and all that, but then they kept him in the same jail and like on the same cell block or whatever, and he was a couple cells down whenever the cameras went out. And like the room that Epstein died in was previously that guy's room, so it's like, oh, of course it's gonna have DNA and fingerprints and blood and whatever all over the place. Yeah, just I went down the rabbit hole, stuff like that. It really it hurt a lot. Yeah.
It's interesting.
Kyle, are you okay? You look.
That I don't know. The whole thing is a lot to take in. Like the Epstein thing in particular is weird. I don't know if it's as crazy as we think though. Like how old were those girls? Like that's always something. Like when I think of like the global cabal of pedophiles, I don't think about guys who are like sneaking away from their wives to meet a 15-year-old girl, which I think is like what the Epstein stuff was. Like
well,
that
there was a bunch of stuff. Like we don't know
partially
the extent of the Epstein stuff. I'm sure there was a gamut of underages.
It really seems like they were like what Epstein was into and what like all I've heard, everything I've heard. Like it seems like they were all like kind of borderline, like 15, like because 16 is like the age.
It's actually technically not pedophilia. That's called hebephilia, if I'm not mistaken, which is like an attraction to young teenagers.
Quail is good. Like
Sounds
that
amazing.
You need a lot of them though. Like if you're gonna eat a meal of dove,
It's like hot wings.
you need like 11, 12 doves.
It's just like hot wings. Yeah, you need 10 or 15 or something if you're hungry. Like we would sit there and like eat a dozen of them and like drink beer, and they're just so fucking good.
I bet they're pretty good for you, like macro wise. It's really lean.
It's really lean. There's like no fat in there. It's one of those things that like you probably couldn't even survive on if that was your.
Yeah, I was reading something about that. It's called like rabbit starvation, where you could have like if you're in the wild, like you're Les Stroud or whatever, even if you had unlimited rabbit meat, you could still starve to death because there's not enough fat in there to sustain you and your body can't survive on protein forever.
So I actually just did it was like last month. I did a video on Chris McCandles. He tried to be a survivalist in Alaska. One of the lead theories is he died of rabbit starvation. Yeah, that guy. One of the lead theories is he died of rabbit starvation.
So what else did
you go hunting all these rabbits, cook all these rabbits, eat all these rabbits, and still die?
Yeah,
I would just be like, kill me. Let's just skip to death.
Well, I mean, I've heard people say that. I've heard people say that about a lot of food. I was unaware that there was a term for that, but like whenever I was eating ramen when I was in prison and shit, people would say like, that's technically not food, right? Like you couldn't eat just that and live. It just makes you not hungry. Like, is that a similar
it's
thing?
good you had some guys looking out for your nutrition.
I know.
Yeah, I know, right? I was like, I used to do drugs that'd kill me immediately. Shut up. Get off my back.
I did.
Is that the same thing? I mean, like, there's just
I'm sure it is.
Where
like
you can't eat just that.
Like you couldn't. It would be hard to pick a food that you could survive on. Like I bet potatoes. For some reason, I bet you could live a long time eating nothing but potatoes.
It's because you watched The Martian.
Oh, yep, you're right. It's because I watched The Martian.
But you can't. You need vitamins and minerals, right? Like at some point, you're gonna like run out of some vitamin and mineral. And like it's going to become a problem. Like even if it doesn't like
deficiency,
it's not like maybe we could live without like that, but like that leads to some disease or something. I just don't think you can
scurvy, for example.
Scurvy is a great example. You need that vitamin C.
Like, no vitamin C, you get scurvy. Simple as that.
You can survive a really long time on potatoes compared to other food sources. The main reason being it has a lot of like mineral supplements and it has all the amino acids needed for your body to put together its own proteins. The issue you run into, like Kyle said, is a vitamin deficiency, but that won't kill you until like a few years. The only real time that we have proof historically is like in Ireland, like right before the potato famine, where there were families who exclusively lived on potatoes for years. That's the only time people have really died from like exclusively eating potatoes.
Imagine that. Like, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
no, you're good.
They went so long eating nothing but potatoes that they died. Like
what a terrible life.
That might be the worst death I've ever heard of. Like I choose death by
tater tot.
Shannon, what's for dinner? What the fuck do you think's for dinner?
That would take me though. It would take me 4 years. Like I would literally be like I love potatoes. I like if we're like I mean, you boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew. Many ways to consume these potatoes. I would be like literally like day 1,288. I'm kind of getting tired of potatoes now. Wouldn't mind
But then I
saying
remember
that.
breakfast potatoes, and I'm back
There's scientists studying you like, I don't fucking understand it either, Bob. He's had nothing but tater tots for 5 years now.
I love potatoes.
He only eats poutine.
If you could only have one, if you only have one form of potatoes, rest of your life,
hold
only
up.
one form.
Whoa, you're getting crazy
That's
with
a
this
sin.
question already.
I was thinking about this
That's
just now.
offensive.
I'm going breakfast potatoes, the most underrated kind of potato. You get some rosemary, little peppers on there.
Onions.
It's good.
Some onions in there. Yeah,
Onions,
yeah.
a little.
I want you to know that breakfast potatoes are not underrated where I'm from in Montreal. It literally makes or breaks all breakfast restaurants. Like if you're not giving a nice helping of potatoes and good potatoes, your breakfast restaurant is fucked.
I
Then
want
they know what
onions
they're
in
doing up
there.
there.
I want there to be like a little bit of char on there, and it needs to be hand. I want to notice that you've hand chopped those fuckers. Like
Yeah. Oh, those are so good.
Inconsistencies in the size.
As a Tennessee boy, do sweet potatoes count?
Yeah.
Well, you don't get both.
You choose sweet potatoes as your only
That's
potato,
but I like sweet potatoes.
Yes, easily. Sweet
You
potato
are wild,
casserole,
bro.
easily.
I think you're so different to me now in my brain and how I think of you. I'm like, I don't even know how to like. I thought I had you figured out for a second. Now I'm like,
sweet potatoes are very good.
Sweet potatoes.
There's no way I could pick
Sweet
any
potatoes
form
are
of sweet
amazing.
potatoes. I can't.
I
I wouldn't
love
be able to pick
potatoes.
sweet
I'm not
potato
changing
in
them
all
over.
variations. I would rather have one variation of a normal potato than
How
all
many-
variations
how
of sweet
many
potato
people-
for my lifetime.
All right, how many people in this group right now are from Appalachia?
No.
Mississippi.
Okay, that's
None
what
of
I
us.
that's what I thought, which is why I'm the only one that's right because I'm the only one who understands how important
Yeah, we need to take
sweet
a
potatoes
page out
are.
of Appalachia's
to a- There you go.
What flavor moonshine do you prefer to go blind on?
I honestly, if I
do
chose
know people that's happened to.
I don't honestly. If I chose anything
Wait,
else,
Billy's-
like I'm sure after a year, I'd be like, I fucked up. I think I
Yeah,
got to play
after
it
a year.
straight. I got to play it straight and safe. I got to be
Yeah.
like French fries. Like I
You know
really
what?
got to be like French fries. Because I agree. I love breakfast potatoes,
Mhm.
but I think at a certain point I'll be like, I fucked up. And then it's also like chips too. Even
Can
chips.
I cheat?
Oh,
Can I
chips
just-
are
Yeah.
potatoes.
Yeah, that's
What
a
if-
good. Fries are a good answer.
What if I say baked potato and then I can do stuff to it to make it other potatoes?
Like you mean get a baked potato and then you mash it
Yeah.
up?
yeah.
I like that way of thinking.
See,
I also
no.
That's what I was thinking.
No.
I was thinking French fries are
Yeah.
super versatile. You can add anything to it. Same.
They're on the
No.
other side of that one way or that two-way mirror. They're like, holy fucking shit, he's cracked it, boys. He's in there
It's
mashing
like 9
it
other
up.
types of potato. He made mashed potatoes out of a baked
Who
potato.
gave him the fork? Did he ask for it? I knew
Yeah,
it.
it is not an answer to say, what if I bake a potato and then I cut it into small pieces and then put rosemary on it and then bake
That's
it
my
again?
next step.
What if
We're
I
gonna
mash
slice
it and then put, and then what if I bake it and then I
Alright,
scallop it and then I throw it in the
Fine.
pan?
Fine, if we
I
can play
approve
that
of
game,
the
then I
loophole.
want
I
one
think he
potato,
figured it
so
out.
I can start a potato garden, and then
All
I'll grow
I'm
several
saying-
potatoes. I can do whatever.
Raw.
I
Oh,
want
he
with it.
chose potato raw. He chose raw
None of you are
potato.
understanding this question.
That was the smartest move. The 400 IQ play.
You
I'm
gotta- you gotta
choosing
pick
raw.
one-
Then I can do whatever the fuck I want.
One mode of
No.
it. Kyle, are
No.
you going mushed or are you going baked?
I am choosing for them to deliver to me a baked potato, and the way I consume that potato is up to me.
That's the whole
Damn
fucking
right.
question.
I know it's the whole question. No, I will. No. I won't ruin the fucking question. I think if you have to eat them forever, it might need to be those breakfast potatoes because they strike a nice balance between like French fries and like baked potato and everything
Mhm.
else. They're not
It's
fried.
a good
they're kind of
fusion.
they're kind of. And
Yeah.
I like
You
them
get,
with,
you
like,
get a few of those on your fork with
What do
a
you
little
call
bit
those?
of egg on
I mean,
there.
obviously they're breakfast potatoes, but
Mm.
there's something. Anyway, I like them.
Potatoes, right?
Well, I think of scallop potatoes as the
Home-
ones with
home
cheese
fries,
that
yeah,
are,
sorry,
that are
home
like, they're like
fries,
layered
Yeah,
in
me
a
too.
casserole and baked.
I put
Yeah,
that's
scallops
how I think of it
pretty
too.
low on the totem pole of potatoto. I don't like.
Yeah.
There's nothing. Like if I were given the
It's
option,
good,
of scallop
though. I like
potatoes,
'em,
there's
but-
like,
It's a specialty.
there's like
it's
six
a nice,
different
it's a
types
nice
of potatoes
treat.
I'd pick over that.
Do you ever
Yeah,
get
that's a
that
nice
box?
treat.
You ever get the box of potatoes au gratin from
Yes.
the grocery
That,
store?
that shit's
Yeah, I
gross.
do. I
Dude,
like
dude.
that. I like that.
I like it too. It's white trash food, but it's fucking
Ugh,
good.
I hate
And
that
nobody
stuff.
said that. And whoever's got it, like, all right. So it's this box of potatoes au gratin, and what you've got, which sounds fancy, and it ain't. It's like 78 cents. It's the macaroni and cheese of potato dishes, and you
Yeah.
open the box, and it's like Hamburger Helper. You look in, and it's got
Yeah.
all these dehydrated potato chips. They look like potato chips, but they're potato slices that have been dehydrated so until they're so sad and weak. And then there's a big packet of like cheese powder, like from like mac and cheese, and you mix butter and milk.
What's
Beautiful.
So what's the deal with MLK? Was it the CIA? When something fucked up happens, I always assume CIA.
Oh, brother, it was 1,010% the CIA. Like, not even a question. So much so that the King family also believes it was, and they spent the last 3 years of James Earl Ray, the alleged shooter. They spent the last 3 years of his life trying to get him out of jail because the family thought he was innocent.
Wow.
In 1999, in Shelby County, Tennessee, the King family sued the United States government, specifically through an agent. And the specific one that did the suing was Martin Luther King's wife. They sued the government for conspiracy to commit wrongful death and won. So in a civil court, they officially decided the government did kill MLK.
I never even knew that, man.
Yeah, that is wild. and that's not even news. Like
wow, yeah, I had no idea. That's not common knowledge as far as I know.
People are like, but if you told someone, like, did you know that MLK was killed by the CIA? Like, I feel like a lot of people would
be like, oh, he's one of those guys.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, they're like, put up the tinfoil hat or whatever. Yeah. Meanwhile, it was like the King family who did the research and got it and all that, which is like, I don't think I have to tell you guys that some information is chosen to be fed while others is not.
Of course.
And stuff that has to do with like a distrust of the state tends to be on the don't show as much.
Who was the guy who went to prison for shooting MLK? Was that like Mark David?
James Earl Ray.
James Earl Ray. They always have three fucking names.
Or David Chapman was John Lennon.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yep. So the civil court thing decided that. Well, and in civil court, did they ever bring up that, there's a guy sitting in prison for this murder and blah, blah, blah?
Well, so he died in 1998 and the civil court was in 1999. So it was more so exonerating a dead man.
Was he retroactively exonerated?
So just in the nick of time.
By civil court, yes. In official court, no, because double jeopardy and all that stuff. He was already accused of it. But like, man, I tell you, like, I went into the MLK video like, oh, the FBI killed MLK. And then I did the research. It was like, oh my gosh, they destroyed that.
You're like, this is way too obvious. They didn't even try to cover it.
They didn't. Yeah. Like, there was one witness who saw James Earl Ray there, and 74 who saw a different man there, and they went with the one guy.
They went with the one guy, Agent. Steve Agent
Brown. That one guy who saw him was actually in a drunk stupor at the time, and then during an interview with ABC, the journalist held up a picture of James Earl Ray, and the guy goes, "Who's that?"
Oh my god!
And the reporter goes, "That's James Earl Ray," and he goes, "Oh, yeah. Well, that's not really the guy who I saw, but maybe from the back, it's
the only way to like bail yourself out of that is like, oh man, he's gained a lot of weight.
Clearly, the stress of being a murderer
is weighing on him. His hair fell out and everything.
I'm like that's my bias is like, if I hear something that's like, something fucked up the FBI or the CIA did, I'm like, you don't even have to explain it. I believe you.
Yeah.
I used to not be like that.
But if,
once upon a time,
if they came out and they were like, CIA stops hunger in Nigeria, like poor village, I'd be like, no.
What's that village got to hide, huh?
That village.
Maybe Nigeria's not even real. I've never been.
If I haven't seen it, it's not there. Australia looking at you, not looking at you.
Yeah, Finland isn't that the conspiracy that Finland isn't real?
Oh, I thought it was Australia.
Exist, yeah.
I thought it was Australia. Fuck.
Well,
too big.
It started with.
Come from?
You got me there.
Wait,
he's right. Trust me, I'm an expert. He knows what he's talking. Just listen to everything Kyle says about alligators and crocodiles. He knows.
The Finland thing. You've heard of that, Isaiah, right?
Yes. Yeah. So it's part of something called the Blifeld conspiracy. Blifeld is a region. I want to say England, but it may be France, somewhere Central Europe, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
it's a small city that not a lot of people lived in, and it became a joke on like European television or whatever that Blifeld just isn't real. And the argument for it was, well, have you ever met anyone from Blifeld? That's what I thought, so it's not there. So people just kept rolling with that until eventually Finland doesn't exist.
It just spread.
There's only a few.
It got bigger. You're really right. I saw this whole like breakdown someone did of it, that the world like demographics charts and stuff are always right within a percentile. So like it could be off by 1% of the population or whatever. And Finland makes up 6% of the world's population, meaning that Finland could be a statistical error.
Probably effectively don't exist. Exactly. For error, they effectively do not exist. That's lame.
Those are like I've always thought like those kind of countries are the best ones to live in. Like the really nice countries that fly under the radar. Nobody hates on Norway. Nobody hates on Finland. Like they're not important enough. Whereas the U.S., yeah, it's nice to live here, but everybody's always shitting all over us for all the horrible things we do to other countries needlessly.
America be like Godzillaing other countries with their dick, and other countries are just, what the hell are you talking about? What are you doing here? But you know, the Norwegians, they're over there like, what up? We're chilling. Yeah. We're just hanging out in Norway, just being Norwegian and shit, man. It's kind of cold, but we're posted up, you know?
We're too busy destabilizing South American nations to do that.
We're not. They don't. And you get over to Norway and they don't have mustard or something weird, you know. There's no ketchup. It's like the little details that are completely gone. You're like chocolate chip cookie, and they're like, what?
The what now? Back to America.
Do you mean a baked fish pie?
Or Canada.
Literally, something like that, bro.
Get me out of here.
I like that all of the difference are snack food related.
And meanwhile, like Harley, you would show up there and you're like, fuck, being average height is terrible. I'm going back to Canada.
I wouldn't be like tall and fat there. I would just be fat.
Yeah, you the tall advantage. Look at this. Look at that normal heighted fat man. Like, is what they would say.
That's the biggest Jew I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I thought they.
I'm colored.
That's where I was going too.
Yeah. Oh, the rare Jew. Yeah. Get a picture with him, kids.
No, I would just be. I wouldn't be like Jewish undercover there. I would just be fully like colored person.
Yeah,
like I'm minority.
Standards.
Like, that's it.
Yeah,
so you come to mile
Jewish people there.
Mile away over there.
What about the conspiracy about birds not being real?
Dude, I know dudes that believe.
That was my next question. Are there people who don't believe in birds, but you just confirmed to me that you actually know someone who doesn't believe in birds? So tell me more about that.
So birds aren't birds. There's no such thing as birds. Animals don't fly. Have you ever seen any other animals that aren't birds fly? Exactly. Nothing but birds fly, right? So they're not real. They're actually government robots. And why would they chill on on power lines? Right? That's weird. Why would an animal chill on a power line? Exactly, because they're recharging. They're not actually, they're robots. They're government surveillance robots that sit on power lines to recharge. For what it's worth, the people that I've heard say this, I know to be quite mentally ill. I've not met people that are like of sound mind and reason that firmly believe this.
I think it's a similar group of people that believe in the gang stalking stuff. They often have mental illnesses. Or it's the people that, see, I believe that the vast majority of flat earthers are trolls. In that,
I agree.
Like, they really enjoy being like, no. So there's an ice wall. Yeah. Oh, they don't let you fly over that. They love the idea of like finding their dumb friends and getting them to actually believe in it. But the problem is that their smart friends hear it and they think it's funny too. They're in on the joke. And so they pick it up as well. I think that the vast majority of flat earthers are like snickering behind their hand as they look at the person who's just like doing the research now. Like, dude, I looked into it last night, man. Is this for real? And they're just laughing their ass off. But
found a 4chan post.
I didn't know about the fake birds until maybe a year or two ago, and I've read the same shit about how they're charging on the power line.
Yeah,
I guess there's supposed to be surveillance.
Yeah, that's what it is. The government's watching.
God, they're wasting so much money making those fake David Attenborough documentaries. I just can't believe it. I watched
so much bird propaganda.
I watched an hour and a half on tropical birds last week. Like they produced all of that just to keep up with the lie. I don't know.
You fell for it, man. The turkeys we eat on Thanksgiving, they're robots.
See, if they just told me that like some birds aren't birds, I'd be like, fuck, that's all right. That might be a thing.
I agree. That's more feasible.
That's
it's not
good.
feasible,
No.
but it's better.
If they were like, the U.S. government has a drone that looks like a bird. They've had it for over a decade. The drone technology that we saw, those parrot drones, that was 30 years old. They've got bird drones now. They're squawk. They shit on people. They flap. They
take French fries out of
they
your
lay
fucking
eggs.
hands.
They lay eggs. The eggs are also surveillance spots, and it's a self-propagating surveillance system.
They hatch surveillance pigeons.
Yes, all of that.
They reproduce for fuck's sake.
Like that might be a thing, but birds definitely exist. Like what I never understand is why the conspiracies have to be so like vast and all
outlandish.
Yeah, like this conspiracy has to requires like every world government to be in on it, and for there to be some like Illuminati like shadow government. And I'm not completely opposed to the existence of any of that, but people working together for a common cause is a rare fucking thing, especially, and keeping a secret is even rarer. So like all of that seems unlikely to me,
especially for birds.
I've shot a bird and eaten it right after I shot it, so I definitely know birds are real. I think that anyone who doesn't believe birds has never eaten a bird before, or they were just really crazy. Because like, aha, they planted a real one. Look at that. Man,
I also shot a
jokes
bird.
on them.
This pork tastes like turkey. Ha ha.
I also shot a bird out of the
like
sky and ate it.
Did you?
Yeah, I shot a bird out of the sky and I ate it
with the wires and everything.
Shot it with a gun.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
What kind of
gun
bird was
shoots
it?
little balls.
Yeah,
a
bird
pheasant.
shot.
I went pheasant hunting, and it
Where
was
was
this was in Quebec. I know this guy, and his family like owns like a whole like village, and they literally buy like tens of thousands of pheasants at like $20 a head, and put them in bushes for months.
Yep.
And then they have the nearby village come and shake the bushes, and we're holding our guns pointing at the bushes, slightly above.
Yeah.
Because there's kids like shaking the bushes in there.
Hopefully
and
not
the
quite
bullets,
the bush.
and then the birds come out, and then we shot them. We shot them out of the air, and then dogs ran and collected them and brought them to us.
Sounds very sporting.
Yeah, just like these fat, spoiled birds who aren't expecting anything.
Yeah.
they've been pampered
Yo,
their
they
whole
never
life.
fucking saw this shit coming.
All of a sudden, their bush
never-
starts having a bush quake, and they just fucking peel out and get smoked.
Bro, I was like
probably
literally
don't
like
even
12.
peel
I'm
out.
like 12 feet away. It's like flying fast enough for me to be like, and then once I murdered my first, I was like, "Let's go, bro, let's go." I was
Straight
like,
murdered them.
overkill.
There wasn't no hunting
Monster
involved.
kill.
That wasn't hunting. That was just killing.
Shooting
Yes.
a pheasant
you're
at
right.
12 feet.
It was. It
would just
wasn't.
it would just explode.
It wasn't
Harley,
hunting. We
the-
planted them there. We planted them there.
Yeah,
Like,
that's the
worst
they were
part.
clay.
So
Did
I've
you
seen
like
this.
did you like tie little rocks to its poor feet? So
You joke? No, I've seen this done before. Like I didn't participate because whatever. But like
What, you
what they
scared
would-
of shooting a gun?
yeah, that's what it was.
That
It
feels
hurt.
gotcha.
So they would take these. I think they were quail at this bird club, but they would put the quail in a towel and like fold the towel in half once long ways. So, and so then they've got that. I think that they could like do this with like you're gonna whip somebody in a locker room, but they just keep going like fast. Woo, 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 woo. And the bird when they're done is like fucked up. He's so dizzy. He doesn't know up from down anymore. And now that he's dizzy as fuck, they go, "Here you go, little buddy. Sit right there. Yep, just chill right there." And then they keep doing that, and they plant birds throughout the field. And then then the guy's waiting over there with his trained $4,000 bird dog and his shotgun, and like he's been training for this. And he's like, "All right, go out there and get those dizzy birds, Mark. You're goddamn right, I am." And he goes out there and as quickly and efficiently as he can, he kills dizzy birds. And that's
Which is probably very quick and efficient, I would assume.
well, part of it's the dog and part of it's the hunter. Hitting the bird is like, I don't know. I was gonna say it's like hitting the extra point in football. Yeah, it's like that. It's like hitting the extra point in football. It's like you're gonna hit it right because like if you didn't, it'd be incredibly embarrassing. Like this is really just about everything that comes before this. But it's still super lame because
This is supposed to be the sure
the
shot.
birds are in a cage. Like we already had them. We could have snapped
Kyle,
their little necks and eaten them.
That-
Right?
these birds came from elsewhere. The ones that they
These
were
two.
brought from elsewhere and then
Yeah.
like placed in the bushes like 6 months before they get all comfortable.
I don't think
And-
quail live here. I don't think quail are indigenous to Georgia. They bring them in and like shake them
Get all
up and plant them
comfortable.
out there and everything.
Yeah,
and
they
then
were
we eat them
comfortable.
after.
Wendigoon, you mentioned like you came up super religious in your house. Was
Yes, yeah.
I went to a religious school. What was the kind of flavor of it? Like really intense, like Catholic, or more like Presbyterian? Like they had like chapels
Were
for you, I'm
there
sure, and you had to
snakes?
take religious classes.
So actually, there were. It's Baptist for one.
Okay.
I was raised Baptist, but not like Westboro Baptist breed. More like big conferences and youth groups. Kind of Baptist thing. I will say, Kyle mentioned snakes. One of the few official snake handling churches is about 20 minutes from my home, and I do know people who go there. It's the one. If you kept up with it a couple of years ago, the pastor died because he was bit to death by snakes during a service.
Mhm.
I am pretty close to one of those, so that is a thing around here.
What a
You
retard!
know, it would have been funny if you just said car accident and just moved along.
Fucking moving.
The pastor of that snake handling thing died.
As soon
Spider
as you
bite.
said,
Yeah.
as soon as you said, it was, all you had to say was, it was the one that, and I was like, I bet it was
Car
the
accident.
one where someone died because they get bit by a goddamn fucking poisonous snake because they wave them around there. That's probably what happened. Those
Yeah.
people deserve it. I love when it happens. They should be refused treatment.
So it's interesting. I did like it was for my occult video I did a while back. I looked into like how that started and everything, and it actually didn't begin until the 50s. And there was this one evangelist that went around, and he was specifically quoting in the New Testament whenever Jesus is talking to the disciples, and he tells them, "If you do work in my name, no harm will ever befall you." And he says, "You will walk through fire and not be burnt. Blah blah blah. You will pick up serpents and not be bit." Yeah, you'll pick up. And what Jesus was saying there was like, if you're doing my will, then you're going to be protected. Don't worry about that. He was not saying that. Yeah, well, if you believe in God, just like grab a bunch of snakes.
You can
and start slinging them
literally-
around. You can literally
like
pick
that
up
Key and
serpents.
Peele
Right.
Kids, I'm talking about children 8 to 12 years old. Listen to me. You can literally fly. Jump off your roofs and fly into the night. Like
Literally.
Yeah, that whole thing.
Yesterday's
Yeah.
announcement, I have realized and learned the definition of the word literally.
No, that guy who started the whole thing died during a service in, I think it was Alabama, while he was handling snakes.
Shocker.
But that's where like that whole ideology comes from and everything.
Yeah.
I
I've
didn't
never
know it was that recent.
I knew that people,
Yes, yeah,
still do it. You know,
Yeah.
I thought that it had
um,
been around for forever. I mean, I knew that people still do it, but I just thought it was old.
So
Oh.
it has been done in like old societies and cults, but not in the evangelical Southern Baptist
Right.
way until like post World War II. There's a lot of stuff about the evangelical movement that happened in the South post World War II, things like that. The older ideas of like colonial America, the idea of the penitent sinner who needs to like earn their holiness to stand before God, that started to make a big comeback around the same time. And a lot of stuff like that still exists in the South to some degree. But yeah, snake handling wasn't a thing in Christian churches until after World
The
War II.
50s.
Yeah,
Interesting.
50s.
I had no idea. I figured that was an old practice. Very interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's always been like cults and societies that have like carried snakes and stuff, but just not in that attitude. At least not to any degree that it was like a known practice. I believe the one nearby that does it is a Pentecostal church. I know there's holiness churches that do it. Things I don't think any Baptist. It's more so like the spiritual or with experience-based belief systems.
Right.
They're the ones who are primarily a thing with that.
I could
but,
get into a snake religion.
What's the survival rate for their like high-ranking?
Kyle had a
congregation
180.
members?
He's immediately like, yeah, actually, it's kind
He's
of
like,
cool.
yeah, I'm down.
I don't want to like
what's that,
handle the
Josh?
snakes. I think maybe like some snake worship though.
Oh, I
That'd be-
see what you're saying. Yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah, gotcha. What were
It
you
would
saying,
make, I
Josh?
mean, like handling snakes in church like it's kind of like daring God, isn't it?
Well, that's what I was telling them about while
Hmm.
you were gone. It's from whenever Jesus told the disciples that you can pick up snakes and not be bit. They're just like, oh, okay, he said so.
They took it
let's do
literally.
They took
I
it
mean,
literally,
just
yeah.
latching on to that of all things.
There is, it's actually kind of interesting. If you look at a lot of a more like, I don't want to say orthodox, it's more so like the American traditional religious movements. A lot of the branching off that happened with those literally came from like one or two verses in the Bible, where they're
Mhm.
like, oh, this is our thing now. Let's hyper focus on this part.
Right.
And then they kind of focused with that as they went through the years, and that kind of developed and became its own thing, like with the snake handling churches.
Yeah.
To finish answering your question, now that you're back, I was Baptist. I've always been in different Baptist churches my entire life. Every one of them's there's different kinds of Baptists. There's Southern Baptist, Primitive Baptist. All the ones I've been in are considered independent Baptist, which just means they're not part of a larger affiliation.
Mhm.
And the belief system's just the Bible, no interpretations outside of it. And I'm actually now a Sunday school teacher in a church. So I've
Okay.
still continued with
So
that.
that's why I said his testimony
Nice.
will be very strong when he testifies against me. He said because he's a Sunday school teacher.
Yes, I said as a Sunday school teacher, this man was a horrible influence. I didn't want to make the African man voice. He forced me to.
I would never.
I mean, Sunday school. I mean, I did dislike it as a kid because it was like all taking away from time that I could be playing in the woods, because that's all that I did with my
Understandable.
friends in the neighborhood when I was a kid. Is like, what are we gonna do today? Let's all go in the woods and make weapons and fight and build a fort and then like do war. And that's all we did.
Good
But
stuff.
I did like VeggieTales.
VeggieTales
That was
dope. I
the
loved
most
VeggieTales as a
redeemable
kid.
part of Sunday school was
You're
VeggieTales.
his cheeseburger.
Now, I will
It's your
clarify,
cheeseburger.
I'm not.
You didn't-
I
you-
did hate.
You don't know what VeggieTales is, Kyle?
We did handbells. That's when each of the kids has a different bell. They're color coded for the key, and then she points at a chart and we ring the bells like a choir of bells.
What the fuck does that have to do with Jesus?
We did gospel songs.
Oh, okay. Well, that sounds
A
awful.
lot of my
Carry
ding,
on.
ding, ding.
VeggieTales was a
I think
cartoon
it was my
show.
mom's idea. It was awful.
Yeah,
It was my mom's
VeggieTales
idea.
was a cartoon show with Larry the cucumber and fucking
Bob
Timmy
the
the
tomato.
tomato or something. I don't remember
Bob.
the tomato. Bob the tomato.
Bob the
And
Tomato.
they would like just be hanging out on like kitchen counters, and they'd be like, "Oh, Stevie the squash is getting sliced up, and look how much pie he made." And they'd be like, "Larry, that reminds me of when Jesus made meals for 10,000 people with just 2 loaves and 2 fishes." And then
And
it
they
like
break
does
into
a
song.
Family Guy style like flashback, and all the characters are vegetables. And so it's like Jesus is an asparagus and his disciples are like squash, and now that the more I describe it, the more I realize it wasn't good.
No, it was perfect. Don't you
Can I
dare
ask you this?
Don't
Can I
When
ask
you
you
say it like this, it's
Can
a
I ask
little
you this?
creepy.
No, so-
it
all
actually
right.
it only
I'll-
seemed good because I was in church and I needed
No,
something.
you're wrong.
So Taylor, all the characters are vegetables. I'm getting that.
Yeah.
And he's doing this Sermon on the Mount. Is it bread and fish that he's serving to vegetables?
Yes.
I think they.
So
I
the
think they
vegetables
glossed
are
over that.
carnivores.
The vegetables are eating the bread and the fish.
There they are. Hey,
There it
they
is.
are.
Yeah. You
I
got
remember
in
that,
the middle, you got Larry the
pickle was
cucumber,
Goliath.
Bob
that?
the tomato.
That's Goliath. the
Why
big
is
one with
Larry
boxing
so
gloves.
fucking big?
No, that's not.
No,
Larry is the
that's-
smaller
that's
cucumber.
Larry's
up
the little
front.
Larry's
Oh,
got
well, who's
some-
that big Bluto retarded guy?
That's Goliath.
Goliath.
from David
He's
and
a,
Goliath.
he's a boxer?
Yeah.
In this,
In
he
this
was. I mean, in
interpretation.
real
It
life,
was
he,
to
like,
show how
decapitated
What are the
people
gloves attached to?
and scalped them.
Man,
We
this
don't
was a
ask
terrible
questions like
show.
that.
Just float.
Why do none of them have
Stop
arms?
it, Taylor.
You're going too far.
Quit
They
attacking my culture.
don't have arms.
Is the
They're just
tomato
kind
really
of,
supposed to be there?
Gaze not into the abyss.
The tomatoes
Lest
are
the
fucking.
abyss gaze also into you.
It's supposed to be educational, and there's a fucking fruit there. I'm not buying into it. Man.
No, they're vegetables.
Veggie
He
tail.
left.
done.
Look, you made him leave.
Rage
You made him
quit.
leave. Look at
I
that.
guess the tomato's technically a fruit, but we all know what it fucking is for real. No one
Yeah,
eats
we all know
tomatoes
it's a
like a
vegetable.
canned fruit.
Nah. It
You know,
should be
for
a
the most
vegetable,
part.
other than by like technical definition, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm real.
I didn't know it was 3D animated like that. I didn't know it was like cutting edge technology for the time.
Oh,
Yeah, it
for
was.
1997, that was the bee's knees,
It was
man.
the
That's
shit.
crazy, bro. They were banging that out on like fucking super powered computer.
Yeah.
It's like,
For
do
back
you
then.
remember like toys and like little widgets or things you would get during school? Like if you're a child, like first grade or whatever, it's like, oh, you did well on your spelling test. Take a little top or a popping rubber thing from
Insane. Those
the
things were
gift thing.
insane, bro.
And
A
you
little
would
jumping
like-
frog, little plastic jumping frog.
and like little plastic jumping frog. And while you're at school, you're like, this rocks. Now I've got a toy to play with on my desk. Time's flying by.
Crazy.
But like, you would never bring those toys home because it's
No.
only
Right.
fun within the context
Right.
of shitty school.
I
Same
know
thing
where
with
you're
Veggie
going with
Tales.
this.
Like if
Stop
they
it.
put
Ah.
like a morning, like a 1997, 1998 morning when I woke up on Saturday early so I could see Ash and Pokemon. Like if they were like, we interrupt today's Pokemon to bring you Veggie Tales, like I would have
No,
I would have
stroke.
written my congressman or whatever the fuck you do as a child. Like I would have been like, no, this is Pokemon time. Veggie Tales is for Sunday school.
You keep that out of my Pokemon.
Keep it out of my Pokemon.
Yeah. So what we had not at Sunday school. It was just at school. It was so sick. It was called Télé Français, and learning French was not exciting. But Télé Français was like, it had like a good opening theme song and everyone knew the words. And it was like a silly fucking like picture of a pineapple. Like it was like, that's who spoke to you, anana, like which means pineapple. And when that show came on, we like actively knew it wasn't a good show. But Télé Français was on and the whole fucking class like got lit singing the theme song every time, and we would watch like 3 episodes in a row. So you'd sing it like 3 times. Everyone's like, we're looking at each other. We're like, Télé Français, Télé Français, Télé Français. And like the teacher was like, I'm gonna put it on, but you guys can't sing it. You cannot
like,
sing
deal.
it.
Télé
Yeah, we were like,
Français.
good.
Télé
Yeah, we
Français.
were literally like, bonjour, hello, salut, Télé Français.
Télé Français.